Hello and welcome to episode 66 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark, and joining me on today's episode is Zac Farro, the frontman from the band Halfnoise and the Paramore drummer himself. So I'm absolutely thrilled. I recently was able to go and see Halfnoise in Birmingham, and before the show I managed to get backstage and interview Zac face to face. And anyone that knows me or has listened to the Mark and Me podcast for almost 2 years now knows how much I enjoy doing face to face interviews over kind of Skype or telephone interviews. They're a lot more intimate and you can kind of open up a lot more, and I believe that Zac does that perfectly on today's interview. As always, you know the score by now. I like to touch base about the last episode, so again, thank you for all taking the time to listen. I was joined by Cody Carpenter, the son of the horror master himself, John Carpenter. We talked all things horror, writing music, soundtracks, scores, and again, the response was absolutely fantastic. I read a lot of emails and tweets and Facebook comments about how they never knew about Cody, and since they've gone and listened to some of the music on Spotify or downloaded some of the albums, and they're now absolutely loving it and have kind of gone and listened or downloaded all of his back cat. So that's the best compliment you can ever get. And I've been speaking to Cody since, and he was overwhelmed by the response. So thank you again for everyone that took the time to listen to that interview with me and Cody. But let's get back into today's episode. Paramore, one of my favourite bands. I'm not ashamed to admit it, I think they're absolutely awesome, and the latest work by them is absolutely outstanding. Also Halfnoise, which people don't know enough about, is Zac's main band now that he's the frontman of, and this band are incredible live and incredible on CD. So before we get into the interview, go and listen to them. They're on Spotify, and their most recent album, Sudden Feeling, is brilliant. It's not a lot like Paramore, it's very different, it's quite funky in parts, but it's a really great album. And the most recent singles and EPs that the band have been releasing is, in my opinion, their best music to date. So I'm absolutely buzzing and so excited to see what their new album's going to be like. And watching them in Birmingham after the interview, they're so tight and so brilliant live that the next time you see that they're playing the UK, or if you're listening to this overseas and they're playing a local show to you, invest the money and go and check them out. You will not be let down, and they're absolutely brilliant. But let's get into the interview now. Here's me and Zac Farro talking all things music. So Zac, thanks for joining me today on the Mark and Me podcast.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's going good. Yeah, just on a little Halfnoise run over here in the UK, and it's been great. We played like a couple new places that we'd never played before as this band.
Yeah.
Cardiff, Wales, Dublin, Ireland.
Awesome, we're getting to see all the spots.
Brighton.
Oh, lovely. I love
Escape.
Brighton.
Yeah, it was. So it was the Great Escape Festival, and it was like the one sunny day in the middle of the weekend. So it was like raining the day before we went, and it was sunny, and then rained the day after. So
how nice is Brighton as well? It's a beautiful place,
really pretty,
right by the sea, and
that's where the festival was.
Yeah.
It was like on the ocean, so it was incredible. Especially when you're trapped in the van all the time.
Some actual daylight.
Yeah, and you went outside, and it was actually sunny, and seagulls were flying, and we played. And we were only there for 3 hours because we had to drive to London. But
that's crazy.
But yeah, it's been good. I think there's been so many things that I've been up to as an artist that it's kind of catching up to me, and I feel like a little fatigued, but like I'm happy nonetheless.
What I want to do for the listeners out there, obviously they may know you from Halfnoise, but Paramore and other stuff that you've been involved in, but let's take it right back to the start. So when you were growing up, were you into music at a very young age? Have you got parents that were very musical, or was it something that you got into at college, or how did it work out?
Well, yeah, I mean, music was never really like a real prominent thing in my family. My mom and my dad had very different musical tastes, but they both loved music. Yeah. But it wasn't like a real musical household until like my brothers and I started playing music. So I went to this like little summer camp thing just because my mom wanted to get us out of the house. Yeah. It was called From Bach to Rock, so it was like anywhere from Bach to rock music, and it was, I mean, for
what
kids,
a range.
Yeah, it was just it was just like the title. They really just like, I don't even really remember it. But I remember this one day, the guy brought a drum kit in, and he asked the whole class if anybody wanted to come up and try the drums.
Oh.
And I was like sitting there, and he like picked me, and I was like, well, I don't want to go up there. And I looked, and I was raising my hand, and I like had to look up and see that my hand was raised, because I had no idea that it was like a crazy like out of body experience where my body was telling me to go play drums, but I didn't know. I think I was more excited than I was like. That's what I kind of as spiritual and cool as it sounds. I was probably just excited as a kid, like, oh, I'll try it, but so it wasn't really any of my family being like, or my parents being like, you should play music. It was like I was part of this, kind of stumbled into it in a way. So through that, just like started going to a few schools that we went to, like found some friends that were really like-minded as far as musical taste, and so we just kind of started sharing music. So it was kind of more like where we grew up in our schools, and my brothers were really into music, more than like our parents being like, you should go to piano class, or it was more just like happened kind of organically,
And was it drums only at this point, or were you picking up guitars and pianos, or was it just, I'm going to do drums?
Yeah, it was solely drums, and then because when Paramore started, I was like 12 years old. When we first joined,
that's crazy.
When we first started the band, we weren't touring or anything, but
that's younger than Hanson. I swear, that's really.
Well, I mean, when we first started, my brother Josh and I started playing music, I was 11.
Crazy.
So young. It's crazy. The first tour was when I was 14. So that's like, I see 14-year-olds now, and I'm just like, you guys are absolute babies. It's not just like a. It's not just like, oh, you're just a young kid. It's like you have so much life to learn and to live. And for me, when you're 14, you're like, no, I'm a kid. I know what's going on. Or when you're 15 or 16, you think you have it all together because you're just like a naive teenager. But it's crazy being almost 29 now. Like looking back, it's like just a crazy thing to think about, really, to be on tour with adults and stuff. But I didn't really do much other than drums until I was about 18 or 19. So then I kind of got, into computer programs and like recording programs, and started kind of making electronic music and sampling stuff and working with drum machines and stuff. And then I was like, oh, and then I started curating songs and started building songs on top of that. And then I was like, oh, I can't really play these songs on guitar. They're kind of just, they only exist on the program, or they only exist on the drum machine. So how would you? And some of that stuff's cool. I still really like a lot of electronic music, but for me, I was like, I want to stretch myself. I think anything in my life, as far as art goes, you have to experience for one, and then push yourself. So,
massively.
So it wasn't. I think also like I didn't master the drums. I said, oh, I will never master the drums, but I got to a place where I was intrigued to try something else.
So when you were that age and you were touring yourself at such a young age with the guys, what were the sort of CDs and bands that were shaping your music taste at that age?
I mean, as a young kid, there was a lot of, it was kind of, the music that I listened to, it was like kind of drawn to, was a little different than what kind of music I actually played. Yeah. I was kind of drawn to more of the more indie rock stuff, like the Death Cab for Cuties, Pete Yorn, just kind of more, not as like,
that's maybe a lot more mellow,
hard,
isn't it?
A lot more mellow than Paramore's early stuff was like really rock, pop rock stuff and some punk in there. So it was like kind of really different. People would be really kind of shocked, and even like I got into a very like, very ambient, very like artful, like what's the word, avant-garde world of like, Sigur Rós, but then everything Icelandic music. So it was kind of like, it was more of like an exciting thing to discover something rather than like just kind of participate in whatever was on, like a Green Day or whatever was on the radios, more intriguing to me, I guess. And I partly think back to that, I attribute that to I dropped out of high school, so it was kind of that was my learning, was like finding new music and finding new bands and sharing with people. It was kind of my school in a way, like to just find things out, and I don't know, I've never really thought about that, but I think that's kind of why it was always intriguing, because I had to study something,
Of course.
So, but I mean, it's funny, not until like I joined Paramore again did I really even listen to old punk music, old Ramones or old Bowie or, you know, like the Stooges. I never even listened to classic rock like that or grunge rock or old punk rock. You know, it was like the Talking Heads. I never even listened to that until, but a lot of people, that's where that stuff stems from.
Of course,
even though it's not really represented 100% by like, or like a carbon copy, it still like stems from.
It builds the foundations, doesn't it, massively?
But it's funny, I kind of went backwards. I went to like the really avant-garde music and then kind of did the more pop rock, and then but like what was happening in the pop world in like the 60s, 70s, 80s. So kind of had a weird
it's
life.
a weird circle, isn't it?
Yeah, I had a really
yourself.
weird, interesting life. I mean, growing up as a kid around people our age, I mean, I don't know how old you are, but
a little bit older than you, we'll say that.
Yeah.
30s, we'll say that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like 25 to 45-year-olds.
Yeah.
You know, that span and being 14 years old, it's a really crazy thing.
Massive change.
Really, you feel really like you are undeveloped, but very developed at the same time. So you're very like developed in like people skills and, you know, being at a venue and like knowing what to do and like being out of the way, be respectful of the band that's headlining or whatever. But then you also have all this life experience you don't have because you're early teenagers.
You're so young.
Yeah, you're so young. So it's been an interesting life to say the least. Yeah.
Because everything kicked off for you so young, and Paramore, you know, you probably never expected yourself to have that explosion where you're headlining festivals, you're playing all these massive shows.
Yeah.
It happened quite quick, so you probably have to take the choice with your family to say, I'm not going to do education, I'm going to tour.
Yeah.
For some parents, that's like, no son, you can't do that, that's not going to work out. But how did it work out for you? Because
I really don't know. I mean,
it's kind of a risk, isn't it?
I think my older brother was always, we were some of the first members in the band. So he was kind of like my guardian, but he was also 16 when I was 14.
Yeah.
Almost 17. So he's not really, it's not even legal
No.
yet. So, but, you know, there were parents, or Haley's parents would come out and tour and kind of shop around and stuff. But it was just, the most interesting thing is just that my parents would let that happen because they were, you know, when we were really young, it was even a struggle to even get, you know, our friends to spend the night or go spend the night at our friend's house. Like, that was too far. And that's 30 minutes down the road, you know.
But the band's going to go into Japan.
But the band's going to go to Japan and go to, you know, play Reading and Leeds Festival.
Yeah.
You know, what the hell? It's crazy. But that was really weird, you know, because we grew up in such a conservative, you know, religious household. And I'm really thankful for where I come from, but it was the exact opposite of what I thought I'd be a part of. You know, it was a touring band, rock band that was, you know, and, you know, playing these crazy places.
It's insane because, like, when I'm growing up, I was buying Nirvana CDs, and that was shaping my music taste, and Silverchair and stuff like that, and I was getting into all these bands and Thrice and Deftones, and I went to see them live, and that's what then made me realise that this is what I'd love to do for the rest of my life. I didn't see that. But for you must have missed out on that because you were on the stage.
Well, that's exactly right, Mark. No one's ever really understood that. There would be so many interviewers that, I can't even tell you how many interviews I've done, but every one of them was like, so obviously this is what you've wanted to do your whole life. And my answer was always, well, it is what I've done my whole life.
Yeah.
I never really got the chance to go, well, I want to be a firefighter, or I want to be like a policeman, or I want to be a drummer, or I want to be like a business manager.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, just not thrown into this, but we had the opportunity. So it was when most people are discovering that. I mean, some people don't figure that out until they're out of college or university or whatever you call it. You know, it's like some people don't really know. Some of my friends still don't know.
No.
And yet, being asked that, there's still dreams. You're like, well, I want to play music. Oh, we did want to play music. I mean, because I went to that thing I was telling you about when I was 9. So I was young, and I was like, it was like, oh, we play in a little town in Nashville, Tennessee, and we play this kind of. We were listening to Deftones, we were listening to Silverchair, we were listening to Hum and Failure and all these, like, not really Nirvana, but kind of the offshoots of that. Kind of grungy, heavy Sparta, which is a band that was, you know, offshoot of
At the Drive-In.
Mars Volta. So it was like we were kind of that band in this country fronted, you know, like country music fronted, gospel music fronted town, so it was like never. I didn't think we played like one as our old band. We played our like one talent show.
Yeah.
I never thought it was going to be like setting up but you know, so it's really crazy how it did happen really quick, but.
Because everyone's watching you from the outside. Yeah. Everyone's always looking at you, and you know, for the three-piece that you are in Paramore now, everyone's always watching you, but no one ever gets to be you and look at it from the inside.
Yeah.
And that must be hard, because I wish we were talking now about this three-piece Paramore, and that's not you. You're talking about them.
Yeah.
But you're here and you are that person. So, you know, you hear about these bands that start so young. You've never got to go to university and have a prom. You've never got, you know what I mean? You've not got to go to a business meeting in a shitty 9 to 5 job and think, I wish I could be in a band that would stop me doing this.
Yeah,
That's just your way of life.
And you do lose perspective sometimes in that. Just being honest. I mean, because the grass is always greener.
Yeah.
You know, if anything, you're like, well, I kind of wish I had a normal job sometimes so I could be home.
Yeah.
Because home, I mean, having a routine is so unpredictable on tour. There's no routine. Even if you know, okay, sound check's at 3, the show's at 10, blah 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 blah. You're traveling with a huge crew, or like whatever, even if you're traveling with one other person, you're the solo artist or whatever. There's a road closed. There's a thing. Like, there's no telling. It's always unpredictable.
Yeah.
So years and years and years of unprediction is really hard for your body.
You've never had routine.
Not really. Well, I stepped away from the band because I didn't want to tour in 2010, and I lived in New Zealand for 3 years, on and off for 3 years. So I lived, and then I was home for 6 years.
Yeah.
I was off the road for 6 years.
And how did your body adjust to that? I mean, that must have been like pushing reset.
Yeah, it was sad at first.
Yeah.
It was depressing, and it was like, I mean, I think with anything, you can think. That's the sad thing about being a human. We're all trying to achieve like a name. We're all trying to like achieve like this. Well, I've done this, this, and this, and that's cool. I think achievements are awesome. I think that's like one of the main goals of being a human, is like a goal or an achievement. And so I think that, but it's really funny when you're, because as soon as you are a name or you are something, it just goes away.
Yeah.
You know, just as quick as you want it, it very rarely lasts, like a Mick Jagger or like a Paul McCartney. So to me, it's like, I don't know, it's just really interesting, the whole thing. You know, just being able to be on this side of it. It's like it's the exact perspective I have, but a lot of people only see it from their life. So maybe they have a 9 to 5, maybe they have a routine or whatever, and they're like, oh, this must be the coolest thing in the world, you know. And as music is the best thing in the world to do, I think, and all of art is the best thing to do, it's all like, it all can become a job and it all can become really tough, but it can also be like the reward of playing music there's nothing like it. That's why it's like, it'd be silly to be like, well, it's the same thing, because it's definitely not the same as like a 9 to 5 at all. But
because people say to me, you should do podcasting full time.
Yeah.
Get up, do it all day, go to bed.
Yeah.
And if someone came to me tomorrow and gave me $1 million and said, you can do it for the next 10 years, I don't know if I would, because it's going to work, thinking all I want to do is this interview tonight and looking forward to it. It's my release. It's my reason then to have an excitement. If it's now becoming a job and a chore, like, oh, I need to get up tomorrow to do it, I don't think I'll be as successful or enjoy it as much and get that same approach.
Well, you just have to get good at like channeling what that is. Like,
I want it to be my hobby that I enjoy and love.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, that's what the weird thing about music is it starts out as your hobby and your joy, and then you make it like a business, and then you have to marry business and art. And how do those marry each other, really? They really don't.
And to get the balance.
People don't really understand. They never do. It's a compromise.
Yeah.
It's 100% a compromise. It's not a balance. The balance is like, oh, well, I didn't get time to finish my painting, so I'll go to work and I'll come back and finish my painting.
Yeah.
It's not, oh, my painting needs to be in a gallery in 3 days. That's compromise.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it is, and that's what's really weird about this is that as years go on, you start writing and you start developing into that compromise. And so you start capitalizing on that compromise, and that goal and that tension and that pressure becomes your release in a way.
Yeah.
So it's weird how your mind can like even adapt to that when that's like a really tough thing.
So you just mentioned then that you went away from Paramore, had some time out, even lived in a different country. It's like having a completely different life. What was it that made you just come back? Because when you came back, for me, the whole band and everything changed, and it wasn't the same Paramore that I saw at Reading 10 years ago. It wasn't the same albums that I bought. It was a completely new, and it wasn't like, you all looked like you were having a lot more fun. You were enjoying it more. The music changed.
The colours were a lot brighter.
It was so different. And, you know, we're sitting here today, 2 years today, after Laughter came out, you know. Yeah,
it's true, I mean, man, for me, I gotta reset, but I think there's nothing, as always, that's the balance you need, is in music, is having a healthy balance of like rest and resetting. And for me, I went to New Zealand, and I needed to do, I never went to prom, never had those, never went to university, never did any of that stuff. So that was kind of my travel abroad kind of like time for myself. And like, I mean, you travel all the time, but we're in Birmingham today, right? But this is Birmingham. Tiny 4 walls and a couple beers and some hummus, and that's not Birmingham. That's seeing, and sometimes you get a day off. I'm not saying it's all bleak like that, and this isn't bleak. This is cool. It's the backstage, but when you really go, a vacation takes about 3 days even to get into it anyway. So I took time because I needed to reset. So when I came back, I would say I attributed a lot to the new record, and the new record cycle of, you know, aesthetic and energy and everything. But Haley and Taylor were ready for that lift and shift anyway. I just was a part of it, and it seemed like is it because Zac's back? I helped out for sure, but it wasn't.
It's the timing, isn't it?
It was the timing. It wasn't just me. It was a culmination. It was a community effort for sure.
It seems like a whole new lease of life. You all look like you're having the best time of your life. All of you, like Haley took time out, did a Good Die Young and all this. Everyone took their projects, and then you came back. And it isn't like you've got to tour 300 days a year and you're knackered out and you've got to do 10 albums. You're doing what you want when you want. And it seems now, from an outsider, you guys have never been happier. It looks like you're all enjoying it. I saw you last year, and all of you are now just swapping instruments. You're going up doing a Halfnoise song. And it's just a lot more like relaxed. It's not so much, you know.
There's no tension anymore, and I think there's like and I won't say like what tension, because who knows what being in a band's like being in a family. You never know like what brother or what sister's gonna poke your button that day or whatever, but the tension is gone, and I think that mainly due to just being adults. You know, like I think that you have to, as adults, treat this as a business and treat this as like and put yourself aside and go, that does push my buttons, but there's also the bigger picture here, and that's like to get this job done. And when you're a kid, you only see like what's like 2 feet past your nose. You don't really care about like what's happening 6 months to like a year, 2 years down the road. You're just like, oh well, I'm mad right now, or I'm upset about this, or I'm happy right now. So I think it's just a culmination of everything, and I think the timing is everything, you know. So that's why everything is in such a good place, and everybody's really healthy and happy and doing things they need to do. Art projects, or hanging out with friends, or doing trips, or whatever it is that makes an individual feel healthy. I think we're all capitalizing on that right now. So
then going from Paramore, obviously now we're sitting here, you're about to do a headline show here as Halfnoise. That's very different. So if you're in Paramore right now, you'd be in an arena. You'd have a massive dressing room, I'm sure. All the catering, everything, crew, everything. Here it's like you've started again, like you're just starting out as an upcoming band again. With full respect. We're in a small little dressing room. It's not going to be 25,000 people, you know. It must be such a weird mindset to go from being that big, huge, everyone knows you, to we're starting again, we're doing it's like you're just starting out again. Do you know what I mean?
I wonder if it's like harder for, maybe even some of the guys in the band, because they play with Paramore too.
Of course.
So I wonder if it's harder for them, because
the transition is insane.
For me, it's like just I'm so passionate about it, and I believe in it so much, so I don't really think about it. I started this before Paramore. I joined Paramore again, so I was kind of already in the mindset of, well, this is what it is. I got to build it up. But yeah, I mean, it's weird, but it's grown in itself so much that I don't really compare them, because it's as far
different things, aren't they?
So if I started a band that sounded just like Paramore and it was not doing as good, then I'd be bummed. But it's a very different. It's its own animal, and it's starting it before and growing it and seeing the growth. I really, the only time I really see them colliding is when we play one song at a show, or when we're on tour with Paramore and I'm trying to find time to play my shows. So that's really the only time I see them like comparable in a way, or like I compare them because I'm having to in my mind. But I think with anything, whether it be photography, producing other people's music, playing drums in Paramore, singing for Halfnoise, writing for other people, or like co-writing with a random friend, everything has its importance if you give it all you have. And I just know how fleeting and how quickly success comes and goes. So I don't really put stock in that. I'm thankful for the opportunity to play at these, the huge O2s. But this O2 is huge too, because it's an achievement that to most people would seem like going backwards. But to me, it's like I'm doing exactly what I feel like I need to do for my life. So it's like
good.
It's an achievement in itself. So. Of course I'd love Halfnoise to be playing. I walked into the big room over there. It's maybe 2,500 people. And I was like, oh, it'd be so cool. But
it'll happen.
One day,
it'll happen.
One day, and I think it's like laying the foundation now. As much as I'd want a single on Spotify to shoot up, and then Halfnoise is headlining every festival, that'd be great. But number one, that's not a reality for every band.
No.
And two, you can't just expect just because the other band's big that this band will do well, so.
I like the balance. I like the fact that you've got them both. It must be great.
I think it's really healthy.
And you get to put the drumsticks down, and you get to sing, and you get to be the front man.
Which is, it's been a learning experience, but it's been great.
Is it scary? Because with Paramore you can hide a little bit behind, and Hayley's the focus. In this one, you're at the front. I don't really have anything to hide from in my life, so I don't. And I know it's not even really what you're saying, because it's just performing can be scary, But I think for me, I just at the start it was really tough. It was like, oh, how do I do this, and how do I even look? Do I even? I think just becoming more confident in yourself, and starting to look up to other singers, and see what I want to become like and be like, and I'm still really inspired by that. I'm becoming my own frontman and leading this band. So it's the scary has turned into another goal of just scary turned into another like thing to achieve, which is like another goal of like I want to be a great frontman, instead of I want to be scared to like, I think you can be at the center of the stage, and you can still be as separated from the crowd as you are like all the way 50 feet back on a drum kit. All you have to do is disconnect yourself. You need that connection with the crowd, don't you?
So and
it's not something you can guarantee.
It's not.
You got to work for it.
You got all of it's work. It's cool. I don't think there's anything worth getting if you don't work for it.
No. One of the things I really admire about you is when I've been on your Instagram and stuff, and your photography and your eye for detail is like nothing else. When I see one of your photos, it might just be you with some of your family or going to a shop, but it's got your style. It's like, oh, that's Zac. I can see the pictures. And do you do it as a hobby, or is that as I can see you putting as much passion in your photography and directing of videos than you do in your music. You can't just be walking around like most people just take a photo of their meal they're having at lunchtime or a selfie with their mates. Yeah. Your photos are everyone's like it's a statement.
Yeah, and I think that I've always loved photography, but I think that with a lot of things in my life, I just said I couldn't do them. Besides drumming, because that came naturally.
Yeah.
And I think as soon as you say I can't do something, then doesn't mean you can't do it, but you've told yourself that you're going to prolong. If you actually really want to do it, you're just going to prolong it until you like don't like care anymore what that voice says. I don't know how to really explain it.
You've already built a wall.
You've already built up a wall, so you're just at that point. It just depends on how far you built it up, because you're going to tear it down. Because at one point in your life, you're going to be like, I do want to do this. Yeah. So I have always admired photography. I thought that just like writing a song, I thought you had to go out and write a Beatles song.
Yeah.
I thought you had to come out and take a photo that's going to be in galleries, and like, somewhere like the Louvre.
Yeah.
It's like, that's just not going to happen, So I actually had a friend, he really helped me out. He was my old manager, and he said that, I told him, I was like, man, I wish I could take photos like that one day. And I was talking to him, and this was about 6 years ago. And I'd always like bought Polaroid cameras or bought cameras on tour and just shot cameras. Yeah. But I didn't really think I was a photographer. And then he was like, well, why can't you take photos? Why don't you think you're a photographer? I was like, well, I'm just nervous. I'm scared of it. He's like, well, why don't you, as a challenge, why don't you go buy 5 disposable cameras on our trip? We went out to LA. I was writing for the Sudden Feeling Halfnoise record. He's like, why don't you go out and buy 5 disposable cameras and just don't even think about it. Don't think twice about your shooting. Just go shoot. Take photos of trash cans. Take photos. And I was like, okay, cool. I got the photos back, and half of them were bad.
Yeah.
But half of them were like, oh, there's a theme here.
Cool.
And then I through that I started getting a little bit nicer cameras, a little bit nicer, and then by the time I was like full-fledged, like calling myself a photographer, I went on tour again. So I was like in these incredible places, knowing what I wanted to take photos of.
Yeah.
Catching my eye onto things and framing it in my head and seeing it. And also I shoot film, so there's always this nice texture to it. So every photo I take is on film, so it's like it has the theme there too. So now I just released. It's kind of, I did a soft release. I'm gonna do some more with it, but a Zac Farro photo. Yeah. So I mean, it's called In Transit, and it's about just like different places I've been around the world, and it's not really musical. It's more like textural and artistic, and kind of different themes of colors and places, and but yeah, it just like Halfnoise. It took me a while. I would be like, oh, I like to make music, but I'm not really a singer. Now I'm a lyricist, I'm a singer, I'm fronting a band, I'm playing drums, I'm a photographer. I think that the can't attitude it doesn't really work for me anymore, because I can't build up any more walls, because I feel like there's no.
That's good to hear.
There's real time's really precious,
No, definitely.
And just seeing like my brothers have kids, and just seeing my parents get older, and myself getting older, and actually being in love, and then you see like, wow, time is actually it's really a fragile thing. Not to be like super sentimental, but to me it's like you really got to seize the moment, and not just like say, well, screw it, I'll get to it when I feel like it, or one day it'll just fall in my lap or something. To me right now, it's like this is the time to be. I mean, and I'm still like I'm still learning things about like the entry level of photography, really.
Yeah.
I know what I like to shoot, but I'm still learning like how to really operate a camera, and how to really operate a production of a record, or a structure of a song. Half of it is like, what is that song saying to you? How are you going to take it to the next place? And then the other half is like how to just know how to structure a song, or structure a photo, or so it's.
You're always learning.
You're always learning. That's the point.
And I think the fact is, the good thing from talking to you today is you're never going to master any of it, because you're always wanting to improve. You're not saying, oh, I've done an album now, it's sold so many million, it got a Grammy, so I've done the drums and ticked it off. You're like, I'm going to keep learning, there's going to be new things that I can do. The fact that if I'd said to you 10 years ago, you're going to direct a video for your band in New York, you'd have gone, fuck off.
Yeah.
You know, you went behind that camera, and I see, and maybe I'm wrong, but I see you directing a film.
Yeah.
I think you'll do your drums, you'll do your singing, you'll do your lyricist, you'll do your photography.
Yeah.
There'll be a point where you're like, I've done a 4-minute music video. Everyone loved Fake Happy. They thought it was a great video.
Yeah.
You want to do more. You want to do a video that's an hour and a half, you know.
I think for my personality, too, unfortunately, I'm kind of complacent, you know, or stagnant.
Yeah.
So if I'm writing a song, I got to go on a run and listen to it. I got to go to the cafe, get a coffee, even though I have coffee in my house, just so I see other people.
Yeah.
I have to do things. I have to like touch the stove because it's hot.
Yeah.
You know, and even though I know it's hot, I have to touch it still because that keeps my mind going. So not only do I want to do those things, but I almost have to for myself because I'm never really satisfied with anything that I've done. I'm very thankful for it, and I'm like, it's an achievement. But I'm satisfied until I'm like, okay, I have another hunger.
Yeah.
And I think the easiest way to get that, you know, I've been saying this over and over in interviews, but we were all hanging at my house a couple months ago, the band guys. We just, Halfnoise and I were eating dinner after a rehearsal, and we're listening to the record, the Rolling Stones record, where it's birthday cake on it.
Yes.
It's not Beggar's Banquet, I can't remember what it's called. Let It Bleed, maybe that's just a song on it or something. Anyway, there's the Honky Tonk Woman song, or there's something, these lyrics are just crazy. I can't remember the exact lyrics, but somebody was like, man, they just like, how did they just have so many things to sing about? How did Mick Jagger and Keith, you know, how did they always have something to sing about? And the drummer, Joe, was like, well, man, they're not just making this stuff up. They're not just pulling it out of their butt. They actually experience this stuff.
Yeah.
So they're just singing out of experience. So for me, that triggered, it made sense. I was like, that's why I'm always going on trips, moving to New Zealand. I'm like, I want to go to the cafe if I have coffee, because everything's an experience. I need experience to then channel into art and then channel into making things. So if you're not learning, then and to me, it's not just like sitting in a class. I mean, if you're not going out to a grocery store that you don't normally go to, or doing something that can like trigger the mind in a new way, or like kind of stimulate the mind in a new
inspire
way.
As well, yeah.
Then you're kind of
playing it safe
nothing to,
as well.
Yeah, you're playing safe, you have nothing really to like build off of. I mean, so that's kind of I want to make a movie one day. I also just like, not only want to, as far as art, but I want to be a better friend. I want to be a husband one day. And I want to be a father one day. So these things are all practice too for how do I keep, like life interesting? How do I, if I'm not really good at this one area of being a dad or something one day, or being a good friend to my friend, I'm not just going to stop, well, I don't feel like doing this anymore. I don't really feel like being their friend anymore. I'm going to go, well, I probably just need to experience something new, or do something in a different way, or keep learning how to get better. So it's all good. For me, it's like really healthy for my mind.
It feels like it's all shaping you.
Yeah, it's
as
like,
well.
Yeah, hopefully. But I think it's like
it's all positive.
You can. It's really applicable to anything, not just art. Is what you can apply it to just being a better person too.
Yeah.
And trying to be better. I
don't think you should ever wake up and think, I've done everything I need to do and I'm happy with who I am, because you're still going to make mistakes, you're going to piss people off, and when you do, you need to realise, I don't want to do that again. And I need to make sure that I think differently to avoid going through this again.
Totally.
Because you just want to have a better life.
Yeah,
for not just yourself, but your wife, your kids, your parents, your family.
Whatever it is, And so that's kind of the point. But I do think there's a balance though too. I think when my friend asked his therapist, was like, what's the most important thing in life? And he said, well, I think it's balance. And I thought that was such an interesting answer, because and the older I get, the more that resonates with me, because right now I've just been going and going and going, and I need a break. I'm not going to stop, but I think there's also that balance of like, you can't just do everything. or your art will suffer because you're just trying to do it and do it and do it.
You'll burn out.
You'll burn out, and then you won't be able to do it at all.
And that's and as someone who's so creative, you would go insane.
Yeah.
You would be lying in bed poorly, thinking, fuck, this just backfired.
Yeah, exactly.
And how can I make a film from lying in a bed?
You can't write it, but you can't do anything.
No.
Yeah.
Even though I'd probably see you sitting there with a guitar and a little synth and the little MacBook trying to write. But
to my dying day for sure.
What's the big thing for you then next? Because obviously Paramore will be writing again soon. You're doing this band. You're touring all over. I've seen the more dates. You're always releasing new EPs.
Yeah.
You never stop. But someone like you're not even 30 yet.
Yeah.
You must have something in your head next. Is it a film? Is it more music videos? Is it another photography book to follow this one?
Yeah, it's all of that. I mean, when that stuff happens, I don't know, but I think the immediate is the new Halfnoise record, which will hopefully come out sometime this year, and then
is that finished at the moment?
Yeah,
that's completely done.
Yeah,
nice.
It's done. And then more music videos.
Yep.
And then just more Halfnoise stuff at the moment until other things arise. Whether it's Paramore. I just produced a record for my friend in Nashville, Becca Mancari, and so it's just kind of the focal point right now is Halfnoise. So just kind of working on that, but there's always like photography stuff. And
do you ever switch off? You sound like, obviously I've got a job, I've got the life that has to do, I can't switch off and do it all day, but I can never switch off. If I go home tonight now after this interview, I'll be editing something else. I'll be always doing something else or working on a new project or thinking of the film script I want to write. I never switch off.
Yeah.
So I can't, even if I went to the beach, I'd be sitting there going like this, like planning how it would look and if I did photos.
Yeah.
Are you the same? Do you ever actually just sit and watch a film and not think how you would do it and how you'd change the lighting?
No, not really. No, I'm always thinking.
It's a nightmare, isn't it?
It is, but at the same time, I think that's one of my new goals is to figure out how to switch off, because I think my mind's hitting this wall of like, you're doing so much that in order to do more, you're going to need to do less. So
if you work it out, can you tell me how? Because I need to know, man.
I think it is just practice of like maybe just meditation. Meditation and breathing, and I haven't done it yet, so I'll let you know. But I think for me, it's just like I thought that keeping busy was what kept me sane.
Yeah.
But it's when you have the drive to be busy that keeps you sane. So I'm kind of running out of that drive right now, so I just need to recharge a little bit and refuel. But once I do, I'll have the drive to be busy again.
Yeah.
So does that make sense? I think
no,
that's
of course.
The key is the whether it's sleep or whether it's rest for a couple days or a month, or it's just however you refuel the engine, like that's just like, I think that's the longevity is the most important thing in all of art, because then you really see it through. And so if you're just running out of gas all the time, you're never really going to see it through. You're just going to keep maintaining like, we got a proper rest though. That's how you can keep being busy.
I always look at it like I'm spinning plates, right? So I've got 10 of them at the moment.
Yeah.
And someone's like, "You want another one?" I'm like, "Yeah, keep adding them."
Yeah.
But soon, 2 or 3 are going to drop. And I need to work out which plates I can afford to let go and keep the good ones spinning. And I can't quite get the balance because, you know what I mean? Someone's still going, "Do you want another plate?" I'm like, I don't want to say no.
Yeah, I think you don't want to say no, but saying no to that one might save the other 4.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you really, it's all just about... And sometimes when you have so many plates, you don't even know which ones you're spinning anymore.
Yeah, you forgot about the early ones.
Yeah, so that's why just like maybe putting the plates down for just a little bit would help you even go, I do have this thing that I'm passionate about. I'm ready for like, even if it's just for like a weekend or something, or a week or 2, to just put the plates down, because I feel like I've done my thing now. I made the Halfnoise record. I did the After Laughter touring cycle. I made a record for my friend Becca Mancari. I did the photo book. So I've done...
You've done a lot.
To where I can pat myself on the back and go, okay, I can't sit in the sand at a beach for a little bit, or...
You've earned it.
Or just chill for a little bit. But,
you're in a good place, man.
Yeah.
You're saying all that, and that's only the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Some people say that over 20 years.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's true, yeah. It's true, but I feel like once I stopped touring stuff, I really didn't do anything, which was really good for me, so that's why I wanted to kind of catch up.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of just doing, just playing. I was playing catch up in a different way, which is like catch up on life.
Yeah.
So, all in the balance, right?
Definitely. Yeah. And my final question is, are you a big film fan? Are you into art like that? What's your sort of films that you like?
I like film, yeah.
Because I see you inspired and I see the stuff you're into and I'm thinking, does he like David Lynch films? Is he someone that likes the classic Spielberg stuff? Because you've got this eye of your photography and I think, I wonder what sort of film you would make.
I like classic Spielberg for sure. I really like Wes Anderson, of course.
Yeah,
he's so
brilliant.
good. Very that's very symmetrical and very that's so cool to see. Visually it's so good. But I also like Richard Linklater, who's done Days of Confused and
amazing film, Boyhood,
and Before Sunrise. The trilogy there is so good. I love how his perspective on time can suck you into like a weekend, but you feel like you've seen a whole lifetime, or suck you into like one day, which is like Days of Confused is one afternoon. And
it feels like a year.
It feels like a lifetime.
And it feels like I graduated with them.
Kid. Like I remember going to school and having those summers where you felt like it was like a whole life, a lifetime. Like his, but not really aesthetically. I think stuff's cool. Days of Confused is cool, but it's not really like it's not really for the camera angles or the
no.
But that's more of a Wes Anderson thing. I mean, I do love film. I just don't. I don't live and breathe cinema. I that's more music to me. But even music, man. To me, it's like friendships and relationships. I don't really even dig into musical gear or dig into really how to write a song. The most I've ever really studied is like photography stuff, how to work a camera, or like how to maybe play this song on guitar, or like learn piano a little bit or whatever. To me, it's not. I'd rather like invest my time in like a friendship or like hanging out with people, because that's like
that's real.
That's what makes life really rich. That's where I pull all of my inspiration. I can like hear, after hanging out or feeling really inspired, I can hear a song in my head and go write it. I can't really sit there and pull it out of thin air.
No.
That's the experience thing too.
Yeah.
So
I think the secret is to get as many experiences as you can.
Yeah, I think so.
So you can leave more of a mark.
I think so. Healthy ones. Not like experience this like.
But sometimes you need the bad ones. You need the bad experiences of heartbreak or
those
someone letting you down.
Ones,
where you can then. Because the sweet's not as sweet until you've had the sour.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And they balance each other out too, so it's. Yeah.
Last question.
Yeah.
What advice do you give to people out there that are trying to get into the industry right now? Because when you started, people would buy t-shirts, CDs, albums. You were selling millions. You still sell loads. It's all streaming. But a lot of bands will be listening to this and they want to know the best advice. And I think you've seen both sides. That everyone wanting CDs, now everyone just wants a download stream. It's more about getting out there now and playing, isn't it? That's something you can't replicate on a Spotify or an iTunes or it's all about live music is a lot more important. Bands like Metallica you'd see once every 5 years. Now they're having to tour all year.
Yeah.
I didn't see Pearl Jam for 10 years. I can see them 3 times now because they have to go out there and do it because no one's buying records.
I think if you're just starting out, I think just like anything in life, really, really high highs in life are really, really scary. Just as scary as really low lows are in life. The best place to be is in the middle of the road. You know? Because you're not pulled, like torn down from the top, or you're not having to be pulled up from the bottom. You're right there in a consistent, balanced place. And I think for me, if I put all my stock into, this band does so much, sells so many records or has done, or like places, big places, and that was the high highs were everything, I'd have to be pulled down.
Yeah.
And if that didn't make me happy, and then Halfnoise stuff was the only thing that, or like I was just depressed about everything, then I'd have to be pulled up to the middle of like, to get to a place where I liked something or I was excited about something. So I think just being in the middle is the healthiest place, because and that goes towards expectations of, well, we're a new band and we're not getting that many Spotify playlists, so we're not getting, you know, the notoriety that we thought we were going to get. And then you start your expectations aren't being met, and then you're not happy even if like they are met because you expected them. So I think to just not have any expectations and just do it because you love it. You know, people go out and they expect so many things before, oh, well, we should be playing on this stage at this festival, we should be. And by the time they even get that, they're not even happy because they expected that and they wanted that.
And they want the next thing.
And then they want the next thing. Yeah. So it's like, just be in check with what your expectations are. Have goals, be excited, but also stay in the middle and do it for the reason that got you excited about it in the first place, which is the joy of music. You know? Because managers, label, this industry will eat you up and spit you out multiple times in one day, in one show, you know, let alone 17 years I've been doing it, you know. So it's just like having that, just doing it because you love it and having the right head on your shoulders, I think is, you know, that's my advice.
This is the truth. I've now done this podcast for over 2 years. This is my favourite interview I've ever done because it's just fucking inspiring.
Oh, cool, man.
So I'm thanking you so much for your time. Yeah. It's got deeper than I thought.
Yeah.
And it's real, and I just want to thank you for your time and you know, coming out and doing this, because it's me on my own listening to this. It's ticking stuff. It's making me want to make changes. It's making me want to do things differently. Yeah. So if it does it to the 50,000 people that listen, then this is gold for me.
That's
so
great,
thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
So there it is. There's my interview with me and Zac. A really nice guy, really honest, very open. And as I said at the start of today's interview, I much prefer doing face-to-face interviews, but I understand that when most of my guests are overseas, across Europe, across the pond, it's really difficult to make these interviews happen face-to-face. This one was a long time coming. I think I've been waiting about 12 months to try and meet with Zac and get it done. But again, all the good things come to those that wait, and I'm very, very patient when it comes to getting guests on Mark and Me. I hope you've all enjoyed it, and as I did say earlier, go and check out Halfnoise or Paramore. Great bands with great albums, and you will not be let down. If you like this podcast, please get on Twitter, please get on Facebook, please get on Instagram, or even drop me an email. I read and reply to every single message I ever get. I love seeing the feedback to today's episode and all the previous episodes that are available online. And if you really enjoy the podcast, I do have a Patreon page. The link for my Patreon page is on markandme.com or through all my social media channels. If you sign up on there, I give away monthly prizes. This month was incredible. I had a signed Tom Hanks book, I had John Carpenter sign vinyls, and I'm always trying to get the best prizes out there to give to the best listeners in the world. It costs nothing. You can sign up on there for about 50p a month, or you can go up in stages and get different prizes and different sort of rewards, but every penny that gets invested via Patreon goes straight back into the podcast and allows me to travel the country and do more and more interviews. I've got interviews now for the next sort of 12 weeks coming up, so expect again weekly podcasts. And if you haven't listened to my other podcast, Skip to the End, which is movie reviews, go and check that one out. They're bi-weekly, but in the meantime, I'll be back with a brand new episode of Mark and Me in just over a week's time. And again, thank you for taking the time to listen, and I hope you've enjoyed today's interview with Zac. Take care, everyone.